It is the Flow Friday Night Sports Show, and let's head to the Eyre Peninsula. We're away from Western Eyre netball. We're going to have a look at what's going on in the other three competitions there. Post-lockdown, there's decisions to be made, frantically organising committees and clubs are running around trying to work out what to do. Well, Jo Franklin is trying to keep her finger on the pulse of all of that, and she joins me on the line right now. Jo, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing really well, Jace. Yep.
Good to have you on.
Cold, but well. Yeah, well, it's freezing over here, but yeah, no, we're certainly trying to keep our finger on the pulse of everything that's happening. And I mean, look, honestly, we've been lucky to get what we've got and what we've had so far, as far as I'm concerned. And in the big picture, it is just a game of netball or a game of footy. And, you know, there are a lot of other things that are happening across the world or even just across Australia and across our own state that, you know, we just really need to put everything into perspective and realise that it's sport and we really just need to enjoy it.
That is true. Now, obviously, with the restrictions in place, no one's playing this weekend. We know that. No. But there has been some decisions made, and there are some decisions to come for leagues and associations. Let's start with Eastern Eyre. Now, of course, our good friends at Central Eyre United will be listening in, and no doubt they already know the situation here. But what have the Eastern Eyre Netball Association decided to do in terms of a return to play?
Okay, so it was a unanimous decision between the football and the netball and all the clubs that they actually are just going to forget about last week and this week's matches. Everybody's going to take a point and they will pick up their program from where it will be next week. They also, amongst that, so each team will get a point. They've also, amongst that, they've actually not put a lot of thought into it because they've also thought about association best player votes and all those sorts of things, and so they've decided that they would cease them as of the 26th of June. So the last couple of matches won't count because obviously there's buys involved now. If they were only in their 4-team comp, they wouldn't have needed to worry so much about that, but with a buy and all those sorts of things. So they've really tried to keep everything quite even, and so they will just pick up next week as where they would be and move on, and so their final series will be the same and their grand final will be the same date that it was originally set down for. So that, and it was a unanimous decision, so it's great that football and netball were able to get together and they were able to come up with a compromise and get it all sorted and get back on track hopefully next week.
That's interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's unusual that there'll be a couple of matches that'll be played where votes just simply won't count. But, I mean, gee whiz, at the end of the day, I don't think it matters what decision you make here. It's not going to be perfect. You can't be shooting for perfection under circumstances like these because there just isn't a perfect option. So as long as everyone's on board with it, I mean, who is anyone else to judge what any individual competition comes up with? It's really up to them, their members and their clubs to make those decisions, and if they're happy with it, so be it.
Oh, absolutely. And every association has its own integrity, you know, that they need to think about. And so I think, I just think that in the end, if everybody's been able to get themselves together and everybody's been able to have their point of view put across, then what they've come up with is great. And I honestly think that the Eastern Eyre decision is a great one. I think that just when you start pushing seasons out any longer and all those sorts of things, you start getting people saying, but we'd organised to do this, or, you know, all those sorts of things. I think that they've probably come up with a pretty good solution, I reckon.
Agreed. Now, Great Flinders, it's complicated there too. A 7-team competition, and talking to Primey earlier on, and the confusion around what to do here. You'll hear more from him later on in the program in terms of what they've talked about from the football side of things. But they've got plenty of options here to discuss, and this decision hasn't been formalised yet, but I think we know which way they're going to go.
Look, they haven't formalised it yet, and I shan't be predicting that either. No. But they were, each club has been given 5 different options that they can vote on, and each club obviously took it to their members, and I believe they need to have all of their decisions in by the end of the week. So, you know, probably, I guess, by tonight they might have come up with something, and they'll inform everybody as soon as they come up with the decision. But a great way to go about it, and the only way to go about about it to make sure that you include everybody and that the clubs are actually surveying their players, and I know that has happened because I've been speaking to some of their players and some of their coaches and committee members, and it is the only way to go. You can't just have one delegate or one club or one person making decisions that involve a whole heap of people. So it is great that both these associations have made sure that they've included each of the clubs and their players and all those sorts of people, because ultimately that's who it involves, is your players and your coaches.
Exactly right. And again, I'll say it one more time, there will not be a perfect solution, whatever the decision is that is made. People have just got to be on board in the majority. In the minority, people will be upset. There is no decision you will make that will avoid that being the case. But all you can do is go with the majority and move on.
Absolutely. And look, it's human nature that you're never going to keep everybody happy. But, originally they had worked on just pushing their season out by a week. They were just going to pick up from this week and play last week's round of matches at the end of the season. But now that it's become 2 games, I think they've come up with some different sorts of options and giving everybody the chance to have their say on it. So that's a really good plan.
Okay. And while we've got you, I know that there are plenty of people around the EP who'd be interested in what's happening down south in Port Lincoln. They might have friends or family playing down there. You've obviously got a vested interest too, Joe, in what's happening in Lincoln, and I know you've been keeping an eye on it. So what has that association decided it's going to do?
Okay, so we got a email sent out last night to all of the clubs, and once again, all clubs were involved. And I know our club at Wavebacks, we certainly made sure that we got in contact with coaches and players to get their opinions as well. So what will be happening in Port Lincoln will be that next week, so long as the restrictions to play are lifted by Friday night, because next week we're having a split round of Friday night, some Friday night games and some Saturday games, which we've trialled here earlier in the season. Great success. And so we sort of thought we'd put some towards the end of the season as well. So what would happen is that this round of matches will be played next week and everything will just get pushed back a week, and our grand final will be played a week later than it was originally scheduled for, and that has been in conjunction with talks with the Football League, which is great. It's great that the Football League down here and the Netball Association are staying in communicating with each other all the time. Footy look like looking at pushing theirs out by a week. So again, it'll mean that it'll be the netball grand finals one week and the footy grand finals the next week.
Fingers crossed we'll have some matches to preview next week, Joe. But for now, thanks for the rundown on where those competitions sit on Eyre Peninsula. Enjoy the last week of putting your feet up, weekend that is. We'll catch up with you again next week.
No, we will, and at least we'll be able to sort of sit around and watch the next lot of stuff that's coming up on the Olympics, and how well did we have a couple of an Eyre Peninsula young man do, and some other of the Australians are doing pretty well. And what about our local Eyre Peninsula girl in the Thunderbirds?
She's a star,
how well
isn't
did she do on Wednesday night?
It's been great having her on the show, and great having you on the show. We'll do it again next week.
We will. Thanks, Jace. Bye.